Hello, aviation enthusiasts. Welcome back to Aeroonline, your hub for the latest aviation stories. This week, we're taking off with updates on new routes, cutting-edge technology, and dramatic in-flight incidents. Let's dive in.
American Airlines resumes limited flights to Jamaica after Melissa. American Airlines has resumed some flights to Montego Bay after Hurricane Melissa. Airports in Montego Bay and Kingston reopened with limited capacity, while other airlines slowly restore service as recovery continues. TUI cancels Jamaica holidays, sends 787s for repatriation flights. TUI Airways has canceled all Jamaica holidays after Hurricane Melissa, sending Boeing 787s to Montego Bay to fly stranded travelers home. The airline is coordinating with Virgin Atlantic and local officials, expecting normal service to resume next week. U.S. shutdown deepens air traffic control strain in flight delays. The U.S. shutdown is worsening air traffic delays as unpaid FAA controllers face fatigue and staff shortages. Major airports like JFK and Atlanta report long waits, with airlines urging travelers to expect ongoing disruptions until funding returns. Bomb threat temporarily halts flights at Washington National. Flights at Washington National were briefly stopped after a bomb threat on a United 737. Passengers were safely evacuated, and the plane was cleared with no explosives found. Operations resumed after about an hour. Drone sightings halt flights at Brussels and Liège airports. Flights at Brussels and Liège were suspended for over an hour after drones were spotted near the airports. Several flights were diverted, and police are investigating who operated the drones. DOT warns U.S. airspace could close as shutdown deepens. The U.S. government shutdown is straining the FAA, with staff working unpaid and fatigue rising. Officials warn that if conditions worsen, parts of U.S. airspace may temporarily close to maintain safety. UPSMD 11F crashes at Louisville. A UPS cargo jet crashed and caught fire during takeoff from Louisville, killing at least 7 people and injuring 11. Investigators suspect an engine or control failure, as the aircraft veered left and exploded shortly after liftoff. FAA to cut U.S. air traffic 10% as shutdown deepens. The FAA will cut flights by 10% at 40 major airports starting November 7th due to staff shortages from the ongoing shutdown. The move targets major hubs like New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas to maintain safety as unpaid controllers face rising fatigue. FAA flight cuts begin at major U.S. airports amid shutdown. The FAA has begun reducing flights by 4% at 40 major airports due to the ongoing shutdown, with cuts potentially rising to 10% next week. The move targets key hubs like New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles to ease pressure on unpaid overworked controllers and prevent wider disruptions. U.S. flight cancellations surge as FAA cuts take effect. Hundreds of U.S. flights were canceled or delayed as airlines adjusted to FAA flight cuts caused by the ongoing government shutdown. Major hubs like New York, Atlanta, and Chicago saw the worst impacts, with the FAA calling the reductions a temporary safety measure to ease pressure on unpaid controllers. Over 1,000 U.S. flights canceled as FAA cuts begin. More than 1,000 U.S. flights were canceled as the FAA's 4% capacity cuts took effect amid the government shutdown. Major hubs like Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas saw the biggest impacts, with further reductions to 10% expected next week if funding isn't restored. Kuwait Airways, jet and minor ground incident. A Kuwait Airways Boeing 777 skidded briefly at Kuwait International Airport due to a braking system issue while being moved on the ground. No injuries occurred, and the aircraft sustained only minor damage.
That wraps up this week on Aeroonline. What stories stood out the most to you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more aviation updates. Until next time, clear skies and safe travels.